Hello.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, Chris.
How are you?
Good. It's been a long time. I am going to go ahead and assume that we are being recorded already. If not, what will be missing will be us introducing ourselves. Um, so not to play any kind of leadership role here, but I will. So it's 4 o'clock, and we are here to. Do you mind muting yourself? Thank you. I'd like to welcome you all to our panel discussion, online community before and after COVID. And I'm going to read the description of this discussion, and then I'm going to let Chris Allaun introduce himself, and I will introduce myself, and then we will listen from Matt, and we go from it. So this is intended as a discussion panel with Laura Gonzalez, myself, Chris Allaun, Matt Williams, and other members of the pagan community. So we invite you all to participate. Let's kind of raise hands or something like that. With the unique circumstances of 2020, paganism had to go where it never did before, online. But did it really? Uh, the Spanish-speaking pagan community, folks in remote towns, and people with disabilities or limited resources have always been online pagans. What COVID did was bridge the gap, and nowadays more groups, covens, churches, and other religious institutions, festivals, and pagan practitioners are planning to continue on a hybrid model. So, is there finally a space for all of it together, or is this model going to be forgotten? We invite you to stay here and join the discussion. Well, before we start going into the nitty gritty of it, I'd like to welcome my co panelist and dear friend, Chris Allaun. Can you please introduce yourself, my friend?
Hi, I'm Chris Allen. Let's see. So, what I want to say. So, I'm an ordained minister with the Fellowship of the Phoenix. I am also one of the hosts of a video blog slash podcast called the Mystic Chat, where we have a whole lot of fun. I'm also an author, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen me around or heard my talks or videos. But on Friday, what was that? 2 days ago, the paperback about my brand new book, A Guide to Spirits, just came out, and it's about helping the earthbound spirits who are trapped here or who are having a hard time moving on. It's helping them transition, and it also teaches how to see the spirits and work with the dead and things like that. So take it away, Miss Laura.
Hi, everybody. My name is Laura Gonzalez. I'm a Circle Century minister. I'm a priestess of the goddess. I am the founder and priestess of the Fraternity of the Goddess Chicago Fortuna Temple. I am a podcaster. I do podcasts on English called Lunatic Mondays for CSMP, the Circle Century Network podcast, and I also produce and conduct Paganos del Mundo, Pagans of the World, both Spanish and Portuguese podcast. I am also a video blogger because the instigator, Chris Allaun, invited me to be part of Mystic Chat. So now I also put the face on it. So I'm a blogger with Mystic Chat. And I am also a witch for hire. And I am a member of the Chicagoland, Greater Chicagoland Pagan Pride Day community. I am an enthusiast, advocate, and supporter of the Greater Chicagoland Pagan Pride. And I, without further ado, give it to Matt. Matt, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Laura. My name is Matt Williams. I am one of the Pride, along with and next year I will actually be. But I as an eclectic pagan for mixed paths and mostly solitary practitioner, but tarot spiritual cleanser.
And he's gone. Twyla, would you like to introduce yourself?
Twyla?
And perhaps, there you go. Matt, just so you know, you're breaking up terribly.
Yeah, your introduction was every third word we lost. So yeah, my name is Twyla. I've been running Chicago Pagan Pride for the last 7 years, because I can't remember now. And then beyond 10 years volunteering even beyond that. And as Matt was trying to say, this will be my last year actually running the event in full capacity. I am transferring everything to Matt, but I will still be staying on as an advisory and support capacity to make sure that my baby for all these years is transferred as smoothly as possible. Matt has such great passion, and before he was my co-coordinator, he volunteered. Before he volunteered, he was also a tarot reader and vendor at Pagan Pride. So he's got lots of experience, lots of passion, and anytime something had to come up, he stood up to the plate and just knocked the ball right out of the park is handling it. So I fully trust his capability to take this and move it, pass it on, and take it to hopefully new heights and whatever that will be. Beyond that, I'm a pagan animist, and I bounce around to every aspect of the community as much as I can, because I find art in all of it, and I like to be a part of as much of it as possible.
All right, Matt, would you like to try to reintroduce yourself, or you are good to go?
Yeah, so I'm Matt. Let's see if this will actually keep holding up. I closed if things get a my buddy Mer
No.
today. So,
It
again,
is not.
but
Matt, you may just want to try voice and just not use
I'm
the
gonna
camera. Just see if your microphone will work.
and that's that's what I'm planning on.
Yeah, it is. So, speaking of which, this is what
Yay!
happens when you do things online, right? Sometimes Mercury is in retrograde. We cannot deny that. And sometimes the equipments are overloaded with work, as we all know, and this is no surprise for anybody. Matt and Twyla are running this. Their servers are holding the Discord, and they are also recording all of the other things that are happening simultaneously. So it is too much to ask that they also can be present here and speaking. So we hope that they can interject here and there. But I'm gonna talk to you about my beef. What's my beef and why am I here today talking about the online community uh, prior to COVID and post COVID? I it will be no surprise for some who know me well. I have been a minister and an online minister at that for a long, long time. I started doing podcasts. I've been doing a lot of work online. I have been holding um, rituals and meditations and other kinds of services online. And I think is just as valid and just as good of work as the work that we can do in person. Of course, there is no lying here. Having the experience to be with your group or your coven or your group of people in person, in the same space, at the same time, nothing can trump that. Nothing can be better than that. But that does not cancel the experience of doing things online. So I want to remind you all that this is not new, that this is something that that the Spanish-speaking pagan community has been doing for many, many years. And I hope that we um, avoid the cynicism and understand that spirituality can be lived also through a screen, because always on the other side of the screen there is a person who is listening and is probably being moved by what you're saying as a clergy. So with that said, what are some opinions that you can have about that, Chris?
I was just trying to figure out how to mute myself again. I'm so used to Zoom that I don't even know how to do the Discord. So, your question is about where to find videos and things like that. One of the things that I do all the time, and I have a page. It's called Shamanism and Magic. It's a group on Facebook, and I try to post different videos. And Google and YouTube is a wonderful thing. I find that there's a lot of really good information out there, but there's also a whole lot of crazy things. And one of the things that someone actually, it was Christopher Penzak who told me, he goes, "Hey, Chris, before you recommend anything, read the entire book, read the entire article, and watch the entire video, because that's how we if we don't, that's how we accidentally share horrible things of white supremacy and people who say paganism is bad at the end, stuff like that." But yeah, there's a whole lot of things online to learn about it. Just do a Google search. It's real quick, things like that.
What was I don't know. I'm going to try to have Matt's opinion on the online community. Or hopefully this works, Matt. And if you can give us your opinion and your perspective, or Twyla.
Yeah, I think from the online community in general, from what I've seen directly of the Greater Chicagoland Pagan Pride community, it's because we're not necessarily a coven or a temple or anything like that. It gets scattered, but we do see so many different perspectives, and perspectives that we wouldn't normally see if we were just a specific temple gathering someplace and kind of working within our own little worldview. So being able to have the online community and the social media and things like Discord and that have really opened up bigger avenues for seeing the interconnection and the interplay between our different paths, as well as there is the negative side of that too, of people being challenged on their not necessarily negative, but the controversial side or the challenging side of people being challenged on their worldviews, and coming from a place where they may have been practicing for 20 years in their little bubble, and they know everything that there is to know about their little bubble, but then interacting with these diverse communities and people who are doing the same kind of work from a very different perspective. Having that online interaction can be wonderfully eye-opening and wonderfully problematic at the same time.
Absolutely. I think that I appreciate the immediacy of the information, and I appreciate the availability of the information, but it also creates a kind of like an overload. I think that what we had in 2020 was an overload. There was so much, like everybody's doing podcasts, everybody's doing blogs, everybody's doing this and that. And from my perspective, because I've been doing it, so I just continue. But now that I'm seeing things going hybrid, I really wish and hope that it will continue on a hybrid manner. And I know it's not going to be easy for everybody. But before we move into that, Twyla, what is your opinion, if you have one, about what we've been doing for the last 16 months?
I've said this in a lot of communities that I roam with, is that's been the one silver lining about COVID, is that it has brought information and access to the information, access to communities, access to people that was not available to those who were either differently capable, a language barrier, lived out in the middle of nowhere, has difficulty with transportation, even intercity. And these are just a small representation of the groups that have not had access to these very vital communities and information for some of these communities that I work with that are needed. And I'm like you, Laura, this is not a hope. This is something we actively have to go to the people running things and saying, you need to provide this online. Does it need to change? Yes, because sometimes workshops are adult topics or sensitive, and you want it like limited, which is fine. We somehow need to pressure and but coerce, support, negotiate with these other community leaders in whatever community you are in to continue providing this online resource. Because if we just hope, they're not going to, because it does require extra work. It may require a teacher teaching twice. It may require camera positioning. It may require sign release forms from the intendants. But unfortunately, in order for this to happen, we have to push for it, and it is needed.
I love that you touched on that topic because, and I know this firsthand, of course, because I'm part of Circle, but because I've seen what Circle did. And they had the Green Spirit celebration on late July. And we did one workshop online. And what we have is Selena was teaching, the audience was present, but the audience was not on the camera. And I was sitting near Selena on the desk, monitoring the comments on YouTube. And then somebody, Bob Paxton, was the one who actually patched it through from Selena's camera to go to YouTube. So there is extra work, and there is that extra volunteer power, and there is that extra human hands that need to be available, which brings us to the prickly discussion part of this. Payment, remuneration, giving back to those who are doing the work. Chris Allen, what is your opinion on that?
So say that very last part of again. I didn't hear it.
That this is going to imply if we go hybrid, or let's say when we go hybrid, or when we continue being hybrid, we're going to need more human power, people manning or personing things. And that might require remuneration, some kind of payment, some kind of gratitude. And on the pagan community, that is very frowned upon it. So I'm
yeah,
asking your opinion.
I have thoughts. So, one of the things that a lot of people are learning about me now is I am in a grad school course, and I'm taking a theology and things like that. And the great thing about it is I am working with spiritual leaders from any different traditions like Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Islam, African spirituality. It's amazing. One of the things we do not have in common as pagans is nobody pays us anything at all. Nothing. I have to have a day job. I'm a massage therapist, and I love it, and it's spiritual. But it's kind of unfair because, when most of our contemporaries are able to, have a small home, a car, and pay their bills and really focus on their community, we can't, and I think people are getting a lot better about understanding about paying for workshops and donations, and we have a ritual and things like that. But there's this weird misconception that spirituality is free, and here's what people need to understand about that. For you to pray, for you to worship is free. For us to pay the light bill on the building that you pay at is not free. And so we have to remember that, because all religious organizations, I don't care if you're Buddhist or Muslim or Christian, you donate. And the reason it's called a donation is because, like in the fellowship, we say suggested donation is 20. If you can give $1 and that's all you can give, that's fabulous. If you can't give any right now, you know what? That's okay. Just remember us in a couple of years when you can. That being said, I think that we need to make sure that we're donating. In fact, Laura and I, during the Mystic Chat, we were pleasantly surprised because we were interviewing Orion Fox, one of his big fans, messages us and say, "How can I donate?" And Laura and I were like, "Wait, I don't know how to respond. We've never had anyone ask us that before." So I think that we need to make sure that we're offering, and at the same time, I think as leaders, as people who are doing the production, needs to ask, And for example, I feel very blessed with my job and things like that. I personally don't need a lot, but sometimes we have to fix our computers. We have to buy the backdrop. But that's my closet right here. But have to buy lighting, and on top of it, it's our time. And if we're doing these awesome classes and workshops and rituals, we have to take time off of our jobs, then we can't pay our bills. You know, and it isn't about I want to be rich. It's about I need to pay my power bill. You know, so there's that.
Thank you, Chris. I think, I'm never shy away from sharing my experiences. And I had experience which was the Conference of Horror, because first I was invited to be a compensated speaker, then I was removed to a free speaker, then I was moved back to a compensated speaker, and then I was treated very, very poorly. And I am being very gracious by telling you on this manner of what happened. I think there are no challenges for organizers. And there are no challenges also for teachers and presenters, where we are not used to ask for what we deserve, whether it is to be treated well or to be treated with respect. And it goes both ways, it comes from the organizer, but it also has to come from the speaker. And I think when we don't pay for things, we don't appreciate them. So, and that is a universal truth. I mean, post-capitalist society, hello. So I, for one, agree that there's some type of compensation that needs to happen. That is a great challenge, not only on the organizing part, but on the compensation part for the organizers. So either Twyla or Matt, you wanna? Yes, Twyla. Uh-oh, did she just froze? No, there she is. Oh, we cannot hear you, Twyla. Yeah. Okay, she's muted somehow, but she's trying to come back. Okay. She's trying to figure it out. Anyway, I think that the drawing of contracts from the teacher's perspective, even if it is something that is symbolic, but I think there has to be like a written contract or something like that where, if you can compensate me, do that. If not, some kind of promotion or inclusion or something like that. Twyla, looks like you're just about ready to share. She's so pretty. There you go.
So, Mercury's in retrograde.
I know. And we're doing this live during retrograde.
I know. I don't know how we're doing it. While she's trying to get that going, when I wrote my first Underworld book, I did some research of the Greco-Roman temples of the dead. And speaking of payment and contracts, and when you went to these sacred spaces, also at the healing temples of Asclepius, it was expected and demanded if you were to be healed or to do these ceremonies, you had to give oxen, sheep, horses, and chickens as a payment. And it was actually, they used to write it on the temple walls that so-and-so needs to be healed by the goddess. So he gave 20 chickens and a horse,
Yeah. That's Twyla. Go ahead, Twyla.
Sorry about that. So I was going to go along with what Chris was saying here, and I'm also not as nice. I have been on both spectrum where I have been the volunteer that has been burnt out because nobody else is volunteering. I have also been the coordinator for Pagan Pride, which we struggle for volunteers every single year. We have a core group that was a very strong group of volunteers, and Matt, myself, and George did all our darndest to not burn them out and run them rapid. But at the end of the day, these communities do not exist without volunteers and without the community support. And community support, it can range from, I'm going to talk about you on every social media that I have. I'm going to share the word about every speaker that I have. I'm going to financially donate to whatever capacity I'm going to. I am going to do a drive for them because I can't. I can't have money, but I can do a bake sale. I am going to show up and volunteer every day. I'm going to exchange massage time for the volunteers for they're there. If these things do not happen, these events do not exist. End of story, period. I love my community so much. I have had amazing people step up time and time again to ensure that this event continues, but I have seen volunteers burnt out. I have seen coordinators and organizers burn out. Events shut down because there's not enough support. You want Pagan Pride to continue? We need that step up. We need those financial donations. It's not because Matt nor I take any money home at the end of the day. Every dime goes directly back into the event. These teachers today are going to be given stipends for saying thank you for teaching. Will you get many in donations? No, but it doesn't matter. Their work is valued to us, and we're going to find a way to pay those bills. Our website has to pay. This Discord server we had to pay. So I love everyone, but I don't dance around this issue anymore because people like to think, oh, it's okay. Oh, it's okay. No, it's really not. If you want these things, we need your support. And we don't have cattle anymore. We have other things you can barter. Like I said, just change a massage, but I don't have sheep and cattle that I can pay to a butcher to bring them in to pay for it. It's not how it works anymore.
And that's absolutely the truth. I would like to hear from Matt. I don't know if Matt, if you are around still.
Oh yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, I mean, echoing a lot of what Twyla said, over the past few years of stepping up from participant in Pagan Pride to volunteer to co-coordinator, there's so much, I think, that is just assumed by the community that, this all just happens. The vendor fees cover the entire event. Everything is paid for. It's pretty cheap. You're not really doing much, but I mean, at minimum, we were running $6,000 for an event, for a one-day event. And that was because we were doing everything volunteer based. And we to do a similar event in the location and to build it back to the size where we were in Oak Park, we're looking at probably $8,000 to $10,000 in order to make that happen. And it's neither Twyla nor I have that kind of bank account to make that happen. But I think that is one of the things that, again, we struggle with in being such a fractured community, because, it's not like a church that can, you've got 150 people coming to your church every week and they can throw their donations in, or, a really tight-knit community that supports each other. We have so many different people coming from so many different paths that regardless of what we do, and there's always going to be somebody feeling left out. And that's been a big part of this online thing over the last couple of years was, Twyla and I really trying to set that intention going into it of, we need to hear from the marginalized communities within the greater marginalized community that is the pagan world, because there are paths that are just not being heard from. There are entire communities within our group that, may identify kind of under that global pagan flag, but we're not talking to them. We're not engaging with them. And largely, again, it's because there's three of us trying to hit the entire community and trying to show that, we want to hear these voices. So I think last year's Pagan Pride, I am still blown away by the amount of diversity and information that we packed into that single day. I don't think we could have done it again this year. We did not have the bandwidth, but that's the kind of thing that I would love to see in-person Pagan Pride be that powerful. And I want to try to, as we were talking about earlier with hybrid events, that idea of, okay, so when we do find a new home for Pagan Pride, how do we make sure that it stays hybrid too? If we're hosting this at a park, how can we effectively live stream the workshops as well without costing us an additional $2,000 to $3,000 that we don't have? So being able to kind of work some of that stuff in, because the technology's there, but we need the human capital to make it happen. And that's been a challenge. And I know moving forward, I'm hoping we can develop some new blood and be able to utilize things like Discord to keep people engaged better throughout the entire year, so it doesn't end up just being kind of that call for volunteers in like March or April, and then, okay, we need you for this day, and then we'll talk to you next year. But I mean, like we keep coming back to, we don't have the bandwidth to really do the things that we want to do throughout the year. And I would love to see in the coming years GCPP being a community. It's not just an event. I want to see it become a community, and hopefully we can get the community's buy-in on that.
Absolutely. And I think it's very important that to understand that in my experiences, what I have seen, not only on the last year and a half because of COVID and how we were forced to become computer technicians, every single one of us, but before that, the pagan community, the Spanish-speaking community, coming together and celebrating and doing rituals, meditations and whatnot online. So what I've seen now is events that I have been very lucky to participate, very fortunate to participate on, doing this hybrid model where they do like a 2-day event, and then one day is all online and the next day is all in person. A couple of them were like that on the spring and late summer, because we thought everybody was going to get vaccinated. That didn't work the way we thought it was going to happen. That's a completely different worship. But I don't see why not Greater Chicago Pagan Pride could not acquire the people power and the presenters to do both. I, for one, would love to go to work on the in-person one and then come and teach on the hybrid online thing. It will be very convenient for me. I have to be selfish, but we do need the people power. And if anything, I don't have all the answers, but I hope this serves as a catalyst to inspire people such as me, such as other people who are more comfortable behind the computer, to say, hey, I can volunteer from my house, from a server, while y'all are measuring spots and making sure the vendors are located well and correctly. That's a dream and a desire, so let's keep that energy going. What other ideas can we throw on the ring? Who wants to raise their hand and say, I have this idea? Should we aim for it for next year?
I can add to that too.
Go for it.
Well, just as I had been saying with a couple of other people who I had talked to this afternoon, that my whole thing is, because I can add to what Matt was saying, is building community with unity. That is my whole goal here. And I can also volunteer to be behind the scenes and to help out on the computer while everybody else is doing a lot of the legwork too.
Absolutely.
The people turning in, this is Earl. He is actually with Iowa Pagan Radio, and he's been interviewing all of us today. And he has actually helped. He was here last year as well, advertising the event and doing interviews for our teachers and whoever was interested in advertising their storefront, their workshop, or anything like that.
Yes. Chris?
You know, in the fellowship, we talk about this all the time about community engagement, and part of the challenge is, can you talk about that oneness, to get people involved, to get people excited? And one of the things we have to do is to figure out how to light their fire. What does that mean? What does it look like? One of the things that and I'm a firm believer. I actually think that Pagan Pride should have a cost. I think if you attend, you should have to pay something, or meet with people with a sliding scale. Um, because if you go to any other event, Pantheon, they charge you, and they charge a lot, not just $5 or $10 or whatever it is. But anyway, to get people involved, we have to tap into what they need. What is it that they need? What is it that they're looking for? What excites them? What makes them so happy to be a part of the community? And Laura, I'm going to guess you've had similar experiences, but I hear from people around the world. 9 times out of 10, they're solitary people. And one of the things about pagans is that we don't like other people sometimes. We don't like mainstream. We're different. We're shadowy. We like the dead. We like the goddess. We're not so much into the whole let's hold hands and sing. So we have different challenges than, say, the Jewish community, or even the Buddhist community, or the Native American community. Because, well, actually, if we look at the Lakota ceremonies, which I'm often a part of as a Chinoopa carrier and things like that, is when you are at ceremony, you're not there for yourself. You attend ritual or a healing, it's not about you, it's about your people, it's about the people. And they even say that Mitakuya, which means we're all related. It's about the other person. And so we need to tap into how that we change this whole mentality about me. What can you give me, the people? At the same time, I think that's something to reach for. In the meantime, what do people need? What are they looking for? And how do we inspire them to help the community? What does that look like? I don't have an answer, because I've been thinking about this for a long time, but what does that look like? But I think that these are the questions we have to ask. But I do think that the Chicago Pagan Pride needs a price tag on it, because otherwise, it's just not going to happen. It's just not.
So I can speak on this because Chicago Pagan Pride, for those who don't know, is under Pagan Pride Project International. But in the bylines of Project Pagan Pride, no event is allowed to charge a ticket entry for their event. That's in the bylaws. We can do raffles, even like saying a suggested donation. We can do that, but that's very following that grayscale. And normally it actually wasn't that big of an issue, because we were still making our bills and we were still doing it. And then what we were doing is making the entrance fee a food donation. Like, you had to donate a canned good. And so that way we were avoiding that thing. And again, we didn't turn anybody away because of it. The reason why it was created that way is to not limit access to anyone. Because even if you say a suggested donation, especially when Pagan Pride was first created, a lot of people would just immediately turn away from that. Now, since the sliding scale especially has been very common, it might be something for either put in the bylaws, petition, Pagan Pride Project International, put in their bylaws, or just individual coordinators finding creative ways to, like I say, suggested donation. I will say from experience as well that have some people like to take advantage of it. And unfortunately, I've seen that as well. So we had a silent auction, and there was a beautiful, I mean, large painting, and someone put $1 the silent auction on it. That was okay because they're giving something, so obviously that is okay. So this idea, I'm going to be pushing for what you say, Chris, because I know we're not the only event that's struggling with this, and it's something that needs to be readdressed, because where we are now are not where we were at when Pagan Pride was first created, nor where we were at when Chicago Pagan Pride was created, and we were only at a few hundred people, and everything was a lot smaller and cheaper and like that. And if anybody ever wants to ask, like, what goes involved in paying to doing an event, I can explain it to everyone. But like Laura says, there's lots of details. Whether we're hosting online, there's lots of extra things we have to consider versus hosting in person versus hosting hybrid. And they're like, one of the technical difficulties for, say, doing hybrid is, okay, are we now doing a 2-person event? We have to have the staff for 2 days. Or if we're live recording on the day of, how are we providing the electricity, the Wi-Fi, etc. So even if we're pre-recording or like video cam recording and then posting it later, how are we supplying that? And with Chris saying we're working on it, it's just I have to follow within the bylaws, the guidelines, of which you put before me, and that makes it a little difficult without obviously saying we are dancing on this, but it may come to a point that we have to do this dance or we are not going to exist anymore.
And I think I am gonna keep hammering the online stuff has to continue because my heart is in it. I've been doing it for so long. Yeah, I'm not gonna repeat that much, but it's not just for Laura to showcase Laura, because that's why I have my shows. That's not it. It's about inclusiveness. How many pagans, neo-pagans, witches are still in the closet, not have the ability to, or the mobility to, or the means to go to an event, whether it is $1,000 or $100 or $1. Internet and doing this is the next best thing for people who are differently abled or with different mobility issues, etc. I don't have the solutions, but I have the ideas. We don't have the capital, but I certainly believe that we should destigmatize because we're pagans, because we're spiritual, it all has to be done on the honor system, because that doesn't work. The honor system is what got me on the pickle that I was just recently, where I was mistreated, invited, uninvited, and then they almost threw me the money at the end. And friendships and connections are lost because people don't know how to be civil. And I will leave it at that. So we really have, in my opinion, to learn how to honor each other and dig in our pockets. I mean, not all of us have a lot of money, but the people that do, bring it out, pay for classes. I think it was you, Twyla, who I heard a long time ago, and if it wasn't you, that's fine. That's why pagans don't teach. It's because people don't want to pay for classes. And I would love to teach on a volunteer basis, but don't treat me like I'm garbage. So there has to be tit for tat, quid for quo, whatever you want to call it. And my sole intent in doing this is to inspire people to do it. Do it. Get the money, get the volunteers, get the time, get acquainted with the computer Zoom and how the whole thing works. So maybe next year you can volunteer to do a tech person because we're gonna need that. Um, we have American Sign Language interpreters. We need those. We have never had them at our Pagan Prides, not that I recall. Uh, and I might be mistaken. That's a different conversation. But we are about 13 minutes away from ending this panel. So I want to start hearing some final thoughts on people. And whoever wants to take it away, please do.
I can go. So, one of the things I learned since taking a lot of my classes and my show online is that we are reaching people literally around the world. I mean, I have brand new fans from Australia. I have England. I was contacted by a guy from the Philippines. That was awesome, And it has nothing to do with like, oh, I can sell more books or I can do like this. Anyone who knows is that any author does not make any cash on the books at all. And so it's about doing what we do and sharing our experiences and sharing who we are and sharing our energies, and we need to help keep these things online. We need to, and the other things too is actually watch the videos, because I do know if you're a blogger or a video blog or whatever, if you're not getting the clicks, you're not going to do it anymore, So you have to make sure you're sharing. Just I think I said this. Share the videos. Share. Support each other. And I actually had a person who goes, "Hey Chris, I really want to donate to what you do, but I
Like you were saying that we have, by going virtual, we have been a virtual worldwide, you know, community as human beings for many years. Based on when the internet really took off, that happened. But the being virtual with COVID has really promoted and pushed that, and we need to be able to continue that. How that's going to work, we don't know yet. We know the technology's there. We know it's possible because we were forced to do it for 2 years. So how can we take that energy and move it forward? So many of us are passionate. We want to support that passion. We want to continue that passion, and we're trying to like project it to you. And because ADD brain, I didn't get to talk about this earlier, Laura. We're talking about what you were saying that people don't feel online is real. We are actively exchanging energy in this call. My screen's connecting to your screen, that's connecting to your screen, that's connecting to your audio, and we are in a sense one giant weird convoluted, but we are all connected, and the energy can still be exchanged. If you want to take it a step forward, every time you watch a movie, everything in that is a ritual designed to make you feel, think, and question things by every element that's there. Same thing with this workshop or panel or whatever you're going. Everything is connecting to you in some way, a voice fluctuation, a visual connection. So don't ever let anyone try to tell you that virtual is not real. Technomancy, while I think it was a term created in fantasy and sci-fi and stuff, is a real thing. I cannot hack. Hack is magic to me, but it still exists. So I just wanted to end my things with that.
Matt?
And I can just add real quickly here that yeah, along the guidelines of what the guidelines for pagan pride, yeah, you can actually do either a goodwill donation, you can run a small fundraiser at the time of the event. There's yeah, asking people to bring in canned goods, which can also be donated to your local food pantry. Those are really good ways to help bring people in. Because, I mean, we go through the same thing over here in Iowa, because we don't have a large of attendance as what Chicago does, because it's more of a metropolitan area, but we go through the same thing over here. And that's the reason why one of our uh, one of our areas switched over from doing pagan pride to doing pagan festival, so that they have a little bit more open reign of what they can do. Go ahead,
Thank
Twyla.
you.
Yeah, that, I mean, and that's a similar thing that Twyla, George, and I have had conversations about. Of, does pagan pride, will it long term be sustainable under the Pagan Pride Project umbrella, and or does it need to grow out from under that umbrella and be its own thing at some point? Because there are things that, would be available. I mean, the ideas of, I love the idea of having to have the event outside and our feet in grass. I love that. But at the same time, from this hybrid standpoint, if we can have it inside a hotel, ballroom, whatever, where there's active Wi-Fi or, hardline connections, I don't see where the downside is to having it inside when we can when we can reach so many more people through that opportunity, and being able to, not only the simple fact that the deities have been with us for the in-person years. At literally every year that I was a part of Pagan Pride, before we went indoors, was glorious weather. Even if the rain was, forecasted, it ended up moving. But I mean, you can only go so long before you get rained out. At some point, you're going to get rained out if you're if you're an outdoor event. So, I mean, having that flexibility, would be nice. And that's something, again, speaking back to what Chris was saying, what does the community want? Yes, it would be amazing to have, a park within maybe the Chicago Park District reserved every year, and we can have this. But if it only offers the opportunity to a certain percentage of the people to be able to participate because they can't get there physically, or there isn't the ability to stream online and be able to attend it, is that really worth it? Are we trying to reach the whole community? And how can we make sure that we're looking at, all of those aspects? When the last year we were in person in 2019, we had to move indoors, and that showed us again how challenging it is for the disabled community, because it was on a second floor site, limited size doorways, and being able to function around those things, not to mention just navigating, a couple hundred people in a room. It's hard to get a wheelchair through that. I can speak from experience. It's very hard to get a wheelchair through that. So being able to look at these different options, we need to be able to look broader, look bigger, and be the creative witches that we are to come up with the solution that we need.
I love that. Hard to top that. Well, before we go, because I love to respect time and people's time. Chris Allaun has a new book. Go buy his book. Go support his work. Go share his work. Go do the thing. Be good pagan. Share. Talk about it and watch and reproduce and click like and all of that. Twyla, I want to say thank you for fighting tooth and nail to having Pagan Pride 2020, 2021. I am going to miss you on being the organizer, prime organizer of Chicago Pagan Pride. But in that token, Matt, I am so looking forward to work with you and to support you and to help you and to help build this and beyond. And Twyla is going to be talking on Parliament of the World Religions. She's going to be on a panel with Phyllis Carrot. Twyla will never toot her own horn, but that's why she has friends, because I am a shameless supporter of people doing good things, and I'm also a shameless self-promoter. I myself will also be on Parliament on the World Religions, not on one, not on two, but on 5 different events. So find me on Parliament of the World Religions. I also will be on Star Talk Australia Radio. We're doing Mystic Chat, of course. We continue with that. And my last 2 cents on this online community is, folks, this is not new. This has been done, as Twyla said, since communications are available. The Spanish pagan community of 2010 and beyond, we've been doing it online. Most of my ministry was and has been online. I am a very proud minister who was ordained on a YouTube channel. If anybody wanted to be ordained on a YouTube channel, that was Laura Gonzalez. And I invite you all to think about inclusion and to really think deep into what has happened since COVID. There is no doubt. We cannot be cynics anymore. We are connected. It's not a cliche. It's not a sales tag. We are connected. Some of us have different abilities. Some of us have different depth on our packets, but we are all connected. So let us continue doing Pagan Pride. Let us continue having an online community. And without further ado, I think it's just about 5 o'clock. Should we all say goodbye? Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.